Today we're going to be learning about 80s haute couture. I think that's how you pronounce it. You know, I don't need any fashion advice. I dress in black. I'm at the ultimate fashion level. I'm already at the top. Haute couture. Well, whatever that is, we're going to learn about it. It all starts in Asia with the tiny Chinese hands. Here they pluck feathers onto bras and use harsh glues.
Haute couture is the
Haute?
the top
Haute.
of everything to do with fashion.
Haute. That's how you pronounce it. I guess H-A-U becomes O.
Thank heavens there are customers to support it. It is the ultimate top of everything to do with the making of clothes, the designing of them, the use of the most beautiful fabrics.
So my outfit is haute couture. Can't you tell? This shirt, $600. You can't feel the fabric, but trust me. This hat, $1,000. I'm not making that up.
I mean, thank heavens it exists, because it's sort of like a top for everyone to enjoy, even through fantasy.
I like that. Even through fantasy.
Paris, the seat of haute couture for the past 130 years.
130 years of fashion.
Today,
Haute
there are 22
fashion.
couture houses in Paris. The clients of couture spend several thousands of dollars for a simple day dress or suit, and as much as $100,000 for an embroidered evening gown.
Do people actually wear this stuff other
The
than like...
designers of these costly creations,
Well, actually,
the
that looks pretty
couturiers,
comfortable.
are each master craftsman. Emmanuel Ungaro, a true Byronic figure in fashion today. Passionate, darkly romantic. Yves Saint Laurent is acknowledged as one of the world's greatest fashion designers. For 28 years, he has been a bright star of the haute couture. Valentino was discovered by Jackie Onassis in the early 1960s and has since made millions with his classic, elegant clothing.
I feel like we're constructing a gang. Like, are these guys gonna do a heist?
Karl Lagerfeld, outrageous, outspoken, and exceptionally talented, he is the celebrated couturier of the House of Chanel. And Christian Lacroix, the youngest of the great designers. He has revitalized the House of Patou.
The youngest, but also the most balding. Like, I don't think you're meant to afford it. It's like a beautiful painting. You know, you project yourself into it. I actually really like some of this stuff. I'm surprised. I thought it was gonna be, like, ridiculous. Maybe it was ridiculous for the time.
Or his creations are meant to be worn, albeit by the privileged few.
Albeit by the privileged few.
You have to work 20 years to make a collection. It's not just you decide to start the 10th of June to be ready the 25th of July.
It takes 20 years to make fashion. That's why we have it every season. Look at this guy's fucking suit. Pure white. That's beautiful. How the fuck does he eat in that? Very carefully, I would imagine.
When you are in front of the canvas, it's like a writer
The canvas?
facing
the canvas.
the white page. I have my scissors, I have my pins. I know how to cut, I know how to sew, I know that. And I'm trying to build a new story.
That actually is kind of cool. I had no idea they would do it like that. They're literally like sculpting it.
And you know, I'm suffering, I'm very happy, and I'm very unhappy. I do crazy things.
I am very emotionally unstable.
Creation is a moment very, very special.
Sounds too
Tense.
deep, man.
Uh,
He's just making it up at this point.
megalomaniac.
Washing your hair, you know, for a woman, you know, you feel very, very, you say, no, well, I feel depressed, so I'm going to wash my hair.
I feel depressed, so I'm going to buy a $10,000 dress. It's going to be a wonderful day.
Put a dress, I feel well. I'll walk in a room and you feel, you know. Of course, I mean, that's very important.
Of course, I spent $10,000. Why
For
wouldn't I
example,
feel...
I mean, for
She only wore it once. But hey, you know, if you have that much money, how else are you gonna spend it, right? Feed poor people? Nah.
it's very pretentious to say, but in that dress, I feel like a queen. I can tell you.
Well, at least
Just
she's
it
being
fits,
honest.
It gives me strength.
Fair enough.
That's it.
You feel so pampered. And then when you wear the suit, you feel very pampered. And the waist.
A lot of pampering. It's just a lot of pampering. Really, you know. How many times should I say pamper in this sentence?
The dress has been created and made on your body. It's a bore to have to fit it. Nevertheless, it's your dress. And there's a terrific difference with the way it feels on you.
And
That didn't look like
I don't
it
think there is
fit.
a word to express it. Maybe the others could find it. I can't express. And it's not the
New
value
York
so
City.
much
Is that
as
her
it
job?
is the security it gives you.
It seems to me these women use it as some sort of super suit. Where is my super suit? You mean the $10,000 green one? Yeah, that one. It makes me feel amazing. Gives me great curves.
I buy pret-a-porter more often. I would prefer to be able to buy haute couture because it's one of a kind, or you don't see yourself coming and going.
She pronounced it
And
wrong.
they're
It's
beautifully
haute couture,
made.
you stupid.
The men do spend a lot of money on cars. We do. On clothes. Why
Fair.
not?
Fair enough.
The majority of women in the world, however, who read Vogue and are aware of fashion, do not have a great deal of money to spend on clothes, or even the better pret-a-porter.
See her? She can't afford
What
haute
does
couture.
haute couture mean to them? And are they even aware that it exists?
Do you know what haute couture is?
The reader certainly is aware of what it is.
The reader translation to now times, the viewer.
Elsa Schiaparelli rose to fame in the late 1920s with daring, often
Going back a
downright
while.
outrageous designs.
Woo!
She brought whimsy to the couture.
Looking hot in the
something that was never done
1920s.
before.
These guys are having the exact same fashion shows we're having nowadays in 2020. Wait, this was 1920? So they probably had the exact same thing going on. They had their Spanish flu or whatever the hell, so they had to do fashion shows by film. Looks good, you know? Pretty much the same thing.
Courage was to the 60s what Dior
that's
was
definitely
to the
different.
40s. Miniskirts, hip huggers, short white boots.
God damn, I guess these guys really do define generations.
Time.
I mean, that's such
That
a...
it was so enthusiastically
60s look.
embraced. 28 years of Saint Laurent's work premiered at the Musée de la Mode, the fashion museum of the Louvre. When it opened, it stimulated a charged controversy as to whether or not haute couture could actually be considered a fine art.
It's not haute couture.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely a fine art. I mean, my definition of fine art is an art that people will pay huge amounts of money for no reason other than, like, it's art. So, to me, that's the criteria. And fashion definitely does that.
Some couturiers who are artists like Balenciaga, Chanel.
But some are not
Dior,
artists.
Pioneer.
Some are, some are.
But
Fuck
haute
those other
couture is
guys.
not- that depends of the man or the woman who make clothes. They
If you
are
suck
really
at it, it's not art. Sorry.
Just when the couturier has a style, perhaps he is an artist. Why not?
Why not? I don't know. Whatever.
Scope of Monsieur Saint Laurent's work, or his high degree of
That's
dedication.
art. Come on. If no one would ever wear it in any normal social situation, then it's fucking art. No, even then. I mean, come on. Is this not art? Look at me.
First thing to do is
Valentino.
to choose the material. One by one, I start to drawing and thinking about my new line. And
Need some help
I
with
cannot
proportions.
tell you. The feeling I think is coming from my pencil.
Like, that's pretty abstract.
And you go on, and it's coming in the paper.
Not all couturiers, for instance, begin with a sketch. Ungaro
This guy
creates
definitely
directly with a
doesn't.
toile or
He's
canvas.
like, put it on the canvas.
Later, the toile will be careful, and although one might think the cost is due to the materials used, it is actually due almost entirely to labor.
No.
I can take the example of that crocodile.
You mean the materials don't cost $10,000? Wow. Who would have guessed?
That crocodile takes around 700 hours. It means that you may have about 200,000 stitches because every time you have
700
one bead,
hours?
you have one stitch. To calculate that, we spend 20,000 hours of work in sampling. We sell that to Saint Laurent, 150,000 francs, which is about $20,000, and you sell that for $40,000.
And then you double it on top of that.
$40,000 feathered boas are specially ordered for the couture houses.
They're
As
like
are
the
the
weirder
beautiful
ingredients we
camellias made
use,
exclusively for Chanel.
the
since
more money
Coco
we
Chanel
make,
has
the longer it takes to make, the
other
more money we
important
charge.
suppliers.
So I think if we had enough people involved and enough rare materials, we could make $1 million dress. I believe in us as a people.
Monte Carlo, One of Europe's most famous playgrounds for the rich is home for Karl Lagerfeld.
Jesus Christ, look at that goddamn yacht.
Lagerfeld has often been called the bad boy of fashion, in the same breath with fashion genius.
And also in that breath was douche.
He grew up in a privileged atmosphere with nursemaids, tutors, and a great deal of 18th century furniture.
He's had the most privileged background. He's obscenely rich. He's never once given $1 to a homeless man.
It is the only place where I can prepare all my different collection without being disturbed. Here I'm quite far away from Rome, Paris, New York, and everything.
I'm afraid of what this guy does in his private time. He's too rich and too shady with those sunglasses to not have a sex dungeon.
We were looking for a helper, and we found a young man who has since become the greatest of them all. Now our relationship has been going on for more than 20 years.
He's made us a lot of money, so we really like him. He's a good guy.
And our ideas always go together perfectly with his ideas.
Through the centuries, they first adorned kings, and then haute couture.
You know, I don't like killing animals, but damn, that stuff looks
worked in
comfortable.
a very traditional way. But indeed, his greatest triumph is bringing the House of Chanel back to haute couture fame.
That flourished in the 90s.
For this has
Took a little while, but it got
increased
there.
the marketing power of this prestigious label.
For a household name to sell something else, that helps a lot. And in fact, they use couture very often only to try to sell whatever they can sell, from soups to shoes, from whatever it is, I mean, jewelry, whatever. Couture helps a lot because it's like a kind of
It's a money-making scheme.
You can show in 1,000 places
Not
instead
scheme.
of one window you show only in one street, you see. That's what
Me and
it's
my
used for.
pessimism. Is haute couture the show, the fashion, or the place? I'm still confused.
One of the first houses to realize that there was a fortune to be made in licensing was Christian Dior. They were the first to departmentalize in the 1950s, dividing the house into many houses, each with its own design staff. Christian Dior shoes, hats, babywear, gifts, and furs, each with its own chief designer and staff.
Well, that's
this
cool.
is not only
God, I'm so not fashion-minded. My first thought when I heard that, fucking Twitter, get the fuck out of here. My first thought when I heard that was, that's why they have a Gap and a Gap Kids. I'm definitely not a fashion guy. I mean, you know, besides, like I said, this amazing outfit.
A designer can become a multimillionaire, and a man like Cardin, I think, has his name on 800 licenses, you understand, including pots and pans. So it's not just a question of selling a few dresses. The minute you are an acknowledged leader of fashion, then you become a multimillionaire.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, celebrities could probably do that too. Once you're a big name, you could probably, you could use that to sell anything.
If haute couture can be considered the fashion explosion at the turn of this century, ready-to-wear was the big boom in the latter half.
Well, I tell you, in my career, the biggest change has been
ready-to-wear?
To move from the world of couture into the world of ready-to-wear.
What's ready-to-wear? Is that like clothes you find at Walmart and Target? Clothes made for the general market and sold through stores rather than made for order. Okay, yeah, so like Target and all those places.
One Parisian couturier, the youngest of one of the great houses, believes that couture is more than just a means to perpetuate a craft, or a prestigious vehicle used merely to sell other products. He believes that couture is not only alive and well in its own right, but also on the verge of regaining its former glory.
I believe that haute couture has regained the position it had 20 or 30 years ago. The great era of haute couture, the era of Dior.
If they were gonna get a translator, why'd they have to get a translator that speaks with a heavy French accent?
It's true that haute couture was becoming an oddity.
Beautiful.
He seems to have done what others, perhaps with the exception of Lagerfeld, have failed to do. And that's to give new vitality to couture. In fact, his collections have been creating downright sensations.
Well, okay, well, sounds like he was a success, because I feel like this is when I think of couture now, which is a word I just learned today. When I think of fashion shows, I think of ridiculous looking clothes that are appealing to the eye, but are just like ridiculous. Perhaps this guy went far. I need to look him up afterwards. Like, what is this? What is that hat?
The critics love him, adore him, and literally shower him with roses.
Stop it. It's like, what is that? It's the beginning of Lady Gaga.
And one time I said to Carl, you know, Carl, I'm fascinated with this fellow's clothes. They're very theatrical.
Weird? Okay.
But,
It's a better word.
I know they can't sell but to just a very few people, but the fact that Patou, forget that they must have tons of money, but that they want to go through this exercise, it is so exciting for the couture. And Carl said he is the hope of the couture.
That is kind of weird, actually, that he would do something so weird looking exclusively and not do ready to wear. Another word I also just learned. What's the point? I mean, I guess it could just be for art. I guess that would make sense. But it seems to me the reason to make it in this industry is to sell all that other garbage, right? You just want the name.
I think one still wants to be as appealing as possible to oneself, to one's friends, and to the men in one's life. Because after all, plumage is for attraction.
Plumage.
And a really marvelously dressed woman comes into a room, there isn't a man in the place who doesn't look.
Haute couture, alive and well in the latter part of the 20th century. The locomotive that pulls the train, the signature that sells a multitude of auxiliary products.
The dream creator that makes women depressed.
Prestige behind ready-to-wear, and a dream for millions.
Kind of a nightmare. In a twisted way.
The production behind a major fashion show is also an outstanding spectacle with countless details happening simultaneously. Hundreds and hundreds of people, models, fitters, makeup artists.
Everyone's naked in the back room.
And somehow all orchestrated by one man, the Couturier.
I kiss everybody. It's part of my job. He's wearing the same sunglasses. He's wearing the same suit. Is that the same day? I'm shorter than everybody. Hi. And it continues backstage.
When you have quite a big name, fashion, good
I kiss all the
collection,
pretty
and you
ones.
are an international name. I mean, you do whatever you want.
And him. He's also very pretty. Looks like moral of the story is haute couture is an engine fueled by artists who make women sad about being poor, and so they buy all the affordable crap that the artists also put out. It's good business, you know? Honestly, not a bad business model. How can I utilize this power? Beautiful.